Well, we get daily updates from our teams around the world, but I would say the Iran team, especially at that time, was the team that I was probably working closely with in the State Department. It was an issue that was near and dear to all of our hearts, but especially to Secretary Mike Pompeo. And so I remember the team briefing me. And what was really tragic as we started to learn what was unfolding with the protests is to learn how the regime in Iran had no qualms about taking life, about imprisoning people, and really about torturing these families. And that part was heartbreaking. Obviously, we were encouraged by the resilience and the bravery of the Iranian people to protest, despite all the risks that they knew would come to them. So it was this weird feeling, I guess, of being incredibly proud of the Iranian people for being so brave and wanting to stand in solidarity with them, with at the same time just being so disgusted by the lengths to which the regime would go to suppress their own people.
Mm.
I think my initial reaction, obviously, you are horrified. You're disgusted whenever you see those pictures, and you're horrified that a government could do that to their own people. But I really had this sense of wanting to make sure that the American people and that people around the world knew exactly what was going on. It was very hard often to get traditional media to cover what was happening in Iran and especially the human rights issues. And often, anytime I would talk about it, people in the media would say, well, what about Saudi Arabia? What about this country? What about that country? Always trying to deflect attention away from the brutal atrocities that the regime was perpetrating on these people. Some of the worst, some of the most gross human rights abuses anywhere on the planet. That takes effort to get in that category. So my immediate thought as having the platform that I did as State Department spokesperson is I'm going to shine a light on it. This regime is not going to get away with it. We're going to expose it. We're going to shine a light on it. We're going to talk about it until everybody around the world knows truly what this regime does to people in their country who just want to peacefully protest.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a really tough one to know what the Biden administration will do. You would hope that they don't repeat the mistakes that the Obama administration, many of the appointees are the same. You would hope they don't repeat those mistakes that they made in 2009 in the Green Revolution. There was this weird sort of sense often that, well, if we say too much, then people will think it's America behind the protesters. No one thinks that, right? No one legitimate thinks that. They know what people are protesting for. They're protesting for freedom, for the right to have transparency in their country, the right to make the best decisions for themselves and for their families, and not to be ruled by authoritarian tyrants. So we thought there was a lot of mistakes in the Obama administration related to human rights, related to standing up for the Iranian people. And so we really sought in the Trump administration under Mike Pompeo to correct that. And as I said, to always shine a light on the atrocities that were happening because everybody wanted to look away. Everyone wanted to say, oh, well, all of this is Trump's fault because he got out of the JCPOA. It's not Trump's fault that the regime in Iran brutally tortures and executes people for the crime of protesting or for the crime of being gay or for whatever other silly infraction that the regime wants to employ. They terrorize their people because that's the only way that they know to survive, by repression, by objecting their people to measures that are just not worthy of the glorious and great history of the Persian people. So going forward, I can't predict to you what the Biden administration will do over the next 4 years, but the Iranian people have my promise that me and Mike Pompeo and many others like me will continue to shine a light on the abuses of this regime. We will continue to make human rights a priority, and we will not go quietly into the night. We're going to stand up for the people of Iran. Again, for the beautiful, beautiful, rich culture of the Persian people and the many other cultures and ethnicities that live in Iran, we're going to stand up for all of those people to be able to live openly and freely and without a maniacal, tyrannical regime lording over them. And so we will continue to shine a light on it. We will continue to apply pressure, and there's a lot of members of Congress as well that care very much about the future of Iran, that care very much about the future of the Iranian people, and they'll stand with us in solidarity. Well, first of all, I believe in my heart that one day I will give a big hug and a big kiss to these beautiful Iranian people in Iran. I just believe it's going to happen one day. I believe I will be able to go there. I will be able to visit. I will be able to meet people who we've had this relationship virtually over the internet, over Twitter and Instagram. And I cannot wait for the day that I get to visit a free and open Iran. I believe that will happen in my lifetime because ultimately I think the good guys win out. I think it's that simple. I think if the Iranian people persevere with a mix of right policies from the United States and other people in the region, that they will not have to suffer under tyranny, God willing, hopefully for not another 40 years as they have for the last 40 years. So first of all, I hope, for a big thank you to everybody who have supported us. And we often have, had to stand up against very powerful forces in the media that refuse to tell the story. So thank you to the people of Iran. And like I said, one day, I really believe it in my soul, in my gut, that we will hug and kiss, and we will talk about that fortuitous day. But until then, until that point, we will continue, as I said, to work together and to shine a light on the atrocities of this regime. It's easy to look the other way. It's easy to blame other countries, and it's easy to play whataboutism. But America either cares about human rights or we don't. And it was important to us in the Trump administration to stand up for the people of Iran, who we felt like had not been stood up for in a very, very long time. And I also think my message to the Iranian people is don't give up, persevere. I know that's easy for me to say from the comfort of my American living room. I get it. I have never had to face the harsh realities of life in Iran, here in America. It's easy for me to say, don't give up. It's easy for me to say, don't lose faith. But I can tell you that I am inspired by the people of Iran. I am inspired by their bravery. I'm inspired by their tenacity. I am inspired by their unwillingness to accept the status quo and to accept this evil regime for what it is. So my message is there's a lot of us that care about you deeply, that are standing with you in the United States. So do not give up, don't give in, keep up the fight.